Hello and welcome back to Speaking with Gravity, where everything affects everything. I'm Joshua Williams.
Hey y'all, welcome to episode 97. My name is Hannah Jones.
And what up, TERANCE Dawkins?
And of course, a big shout out to Kervin Searles, our executive producer, and Mr. Winston Stewart, who has been behind the camera, the music, and the vision of this show since season 1.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Speaking with Gravity, y'all. Yeah. We're continuing our special season of Season of Purpose, The Road to 100. And this is chapter 97, Love, Strength, and Burdens in Families. Ooh. Today, we're digging into how love shows up in our families, how strength and sacrifice are often misunderstood, and the toll of being the strong one in families, friendships, and even at work. So welcome back, y'all. We love to start these conversations off with Mr. Terance Dawkins. He tells us what the people want to know. Mr. Terance, what you got for us today?
Well, the people want to know, and I want to know something. All right. When it comes to family, do you think love always means carrying each other's burdens, or are there times when real love looks like setting boundaries instead?
If I can hop on that, just real quick, I'll say for the first question, no, I don't think that love always means carrying each other's burdens. I think that sometimes definitely it means setting boundaries, setting healthy boundaries. Sometimes and sometimes telling people no, like I can't help you with this, and allowing people to figure things out themselves. I was reading a book recently, and in this book, pretty much the leader in the situation, I think the leader was woken up at like 3 a.m. It was infantry in the military. The leader was woken up at like 3 a.m. And everyone wanted the leader to solve the problem. Like, hey, we need you to help us with this. What should we do? And the leader was basically like, y'all will figure it out. And she left it up to them to figure it out, right? She had already given them the tools to figure it out. So you don't need to rely on me, right? So I do think that sometimes the people that we love do benefit, right, from us sharing that load with them. But sometimes, and you have to be thoughtful and mindful of these situations. Sometimes we gotta let people, kind of do the work. I'll say we gotta let them do the work sometimes, and not always be there for people's rescue. We aren't the savior. We aren't the savior in every situation. We shouldn't be the savior in any situation. We should just want to help where we can. But we want to empower people. And a lot of times when we step in and baby people all the time, we're going to make them dependent. And at the end of the day, that's not what we want to do. So answer the question again. I don't think it always means carrying each other's burdens, but I think there are, opportunities for us to, help our folks out. Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah, similar to what Josh said, my answer is both. When it comes to family, sometimes we do have to carry those burdens, and it's not to say that we are taking on the load or their burden for them, but we're just assisting them and supporting them, offering that support that they may need, that emotional support. And then I also think that real love does look like setting boundaries. If we really love someone, we can't allow that person to take advantage of us. We do have to set healthy boundaries. So my answer to what the people want to know is, when it comes to families, we have to have a good balance of both. And also, I've been in this predicament, but you can't pour from an empty cup. So if your cup is not full or if it's empty, it's very difficult for you to carry the burden of your family members or someone else you love.
Yep. And I think with setting boundaries, yes, you can say, no, I can't do this, but I always say provide an alternative. That way you can, like you say, give people tools or give people options. That way they can make the choice themselves, right? So I like that aspect of it, to where I'm not just giving you a hard no and shutting you down, but I'm saying, hey, I can't. Like, for example, sister said, hey, T, can you come take down this TV? I could have just said no and left it at that. But I said, no, I can't come today, but I can see about coming tomorrow. So that gives her a hope that I'll get the task done, instead of her just feeling rejected or down, which can have a negative impact on her asking for help in the future.
And there are ways, too, that we can lead people to solving their own problems.
Yes.
A lot of times through questioning. I had something going on in my life, a situation, and a healthy practice of, I'll say, some folks within like the circle that I'm in is, reaching out to like one of our, like either our pastor or another like spiritual, someone with some spiritual knowledge, some wisdom, right, in the church. And so I reached out to one of our pastors, and he didn't solve it for me. He gave me some, like you mentioned, Terrence, like some things to think about, I'll say. And he was asking me questions, helping me he was thinking through it with me instead of just giving me his advice. He thought through it with me, and then he kind of gauged my responses, and he kind of, off of my responses, he continued to kind of guide me, right? And just kind of let me make up my own mind. I thought that was really healthy too, because outside of that situation, what that can help me to do later is think through situations that I come up against, right? It's thinking through it in that same way. That was really profound for me, I'll say that.
So it sounds like your pastor didn't take on that load with you. He just facilitated you and helping you process through that. And I feel like we have to do the same thing when it comes to our families. The people closest to us, is we can't take on their burden or their load for them. We more so have to support them in guiding them to a solution. So I know you mentioned that as well.
And I'll say it almost felt like he was taking it on. I know like I said, he didn't just offer everything by telling me what I need to do, but it felt good with him being there. Now, I had to be in a position to listen to, and I end up, going, the actions that I took after that were partly a product of the conversation that I had with him, I'll say. So that was really big for me. That was a great question, though, people. Glad you wanted to know.
The people.
Yeah.
So let's transition to the cutie of the hour. This is some type of statistic or quotable data that you can share with your relatives or the people you work with, just to start conversations. So here's something to chew on for your next family dinner conversation. A study published in the Journal of Marriage and Family, which was published in 2010, found that while family ties are one of the strongest sources of support, they can also be a major source of stress. In fact, researchers call it the support stress paradox, meaning that the same people who give us love and strength can also weigh us down with expectations and obligations, and that's called the support stress paradox. And you all can reference this article in our show notes.
Yep, the whole obligation, like I told you about, when you think you have to do something, I ain't got to do anything. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But what I can do, keyword can, meaning that's a choice, not an obligation. I can do this for you, or no, I don't have to do it today, but I can do it for you tomorrow. Prime example. What's today? Today's what? Okay. So the other day, my mama said, "Hey," I went over to her house. She said, "My grass need cutting." Now, every time a neighbor cut their grass, my mama gotta have her grass cut. That's one of them things. But anyways, but still, she had my grass need cut. I said it won't be today, but
Mama.
I did say that. I ain't gonna lie. They said it won't be today, but it's Sunday morning. I got you. And what did she say? Okay, because now we have an understanding of I've set a boundary on. I have other obligations or other priorities or other things that I committed to. I'm going to do those, but I'm still going to take care of you and do what you want me to do or would like for me to do. So that boundary setting is very important because, and it's hard to initially set a boundary because people, especially if you're not, don't do it often, so people aren't going to be used to it, right? But the more you do it, the more they'll get used to it, the more they can adjust to it.
Mm-hmm. And also, this is something I've learned in my profession, is that someone else's emergency situation or urgent dilemma is not your urgent dilemma. And I'll use an example. When I was working with college students, sometimes they will wait until a couple minutes before the deadline to reach out to you over an issue or over a problem they're having. And just because their assignment is due in a couple of minutes and they chose to email me a couple minutes before 11:59 doesn't mean that I have to stop everything that I'm doing to essentially carry their burden for them and to respond back before that assignment is due. So I've just learned in my profession not to make other people's burdens my burdens, but I recognize that when it comes to families, sometimes that's easier said than done.
Yep.
You know, one thing that I realize sometimes that I have to do is like an internal audit almost of my own time, of my resources. What do I have that I can give? And then, you know, kind of judging based on that, okay, this is what I can offer right now. Just like you mentioned, Terrence, you know, letting your mom know, listen, I can't do it today. I can do it on Sunday, though, offering that alternative based on that audit that I've done of my own time and resources. And a lot of it for me also goes back to, can I be proactive with that, right? Do I have structure in place right now? And a couple episodes ago, structure was really big for me a couple episodes ago in talking. And it goes back to that for me, like, what's my structure? Like, do I have things structured out within my day in a way that when individuals do come to me for particular things, I already know what I have going on right now, what I'm going to be spending for the week, and everything, right? If I have that structure in place, it puts me, I believe, in a better position to be able to respond to those things with whether I can or whether I have to set a boundary of, not right now, let's get to it later, so on and so forth.
And also, both of you all comments made me realize that before I started my healing process, I used to be a yes man or yes woman. So anytime someone needed help, yes, I can help you. Anytime one of my relatives or my siblings had, for example, every time one of my brothers had an issue with one of his girlfriends, he'll call me, Hannah, what do? I done messed up. Can you call her?
Oh.
Sure, I'll call her. I'll send her a text every time. And so I was a yes woman, and every time someone else needed help, I was so quick to say yes. However, I was becoming emotionally drained. And so once I started my healing process, I had to set boundaries of not carrying other people's burdens for them and not making other people's problems my problems. And that takes me to the next point, that my expression of love has looked different in different phases of my life, but also across different generations, love looks differently. So maybe our grandparents show love, they may have shown tough love, and maybe our parents show a different version of love. But when it comes to our generation, I feel like there's some type of connection between understanding love and also accepting, taking on or helping with the burdens of your families.
Mm-hmm. So I think when you say, understanding love across generations, what comes to my mind is, I can't, like I said in a previous episode, me and my dad don't really have a good relationship just because he's been in and out. I can't remember my dad saying, I love you or anything like that, right? But that's not to say that he doesn't, right? Because there might be some parents, caregivers, family members, whoever out there that don't necessarily say, I love you, but guess what? They show it. And that's where when people be like, oh, what's your love language or things like that, when you try to think about how across generations, how is love shown or how is love expressed, you can't just look at maybe actions or maybe verbal. You got to look at the whole picture, I think. Yep.
So getting real with y'all, how many times do y'all feel that you've had to hold it together because that's just what love or strength looks like?
All the time.
Yeah.
I feel like all the time. I mean, I catch
All
myself.
the time.
I catch myself though. At not all the time. I don't catch myself, but at times I do catch myself, and that's where I go back to doing that evaluation. Matter of fact, I think you said in a previous episode. I like the way you put it. I had to do an internal audit.
That was this episode.
Yeah, that was this episode. Internal audit, right? So I had to do an internal audit to figure out. All right, wait a minute. You're starting to carry these burdens, or you're starting to feel burnout, or whatever it is, and then figure out, what do you need right now? Do you need support from someone? Do you need to dial it back from obligation? What do you need right now in order to feel better, right? So doing that internal audit is very important.
I think that when it comes to having healthy relationships, especially with our families, setting boundaries is very important, and recognizing your own emotional and personal needs. But also just finding that balance between creating a safe space for your families, or for your relatives to express something that is heavy on their mind, while also creating that barrier that, hey, I still have to take care of myself, and I can't let this person's drama or emergency situation become my own. And that leads me to the point of saying that what I've learned in my personal life is that sometimes I have to set a boundary like, hey, mom, right now it's not a good time for you to dump this information on me. However, if you call me back tonight, I'll have more time to listen. Mm-hmm. You know, if I'm in the middle of a work day, I can't afford to, or I can't designate time to listen to someone else's issues. But like you said, offering that alternative. So maintaining my healthy boundaries while also providing that safe space for my relatives and saying, hey, mom, if you call me back after 9 p.m., I'll listen to you all night as long as you need. But right now, I'm unable to do that. So setting those healthy boundaries is very important when it comes to healthy relationships.
I'll say, I echo everything that, Terrence and Hannah are saying. I also believe that, sometimes there are some people that I do put things aside for, and it's because I've noticed the importance of, and I've learned to value the importance of that relationship, and showing that person also that they are above some of the things in my life that that sometimes I may prioritize, such as work. For instance, with my wife, right? We're in the first year of marriage. This is very critical, right? That, through all the things that I'm balancing, that I also give her that priority and that time, like when she needs, like sometimes it's right then, because in being a husband, I have to make sure that she knows that she can count on me, right? It's some relationships like that where it's where I think that balance it can look a little different, right? You may have to flex a little bit. Also, I'll say with my children, right? They have to kind of see that, man, daddy does really well with balancing his work. He talks to us, but man, I got a situation right now. I need him right now, and I need them to know that they can count on me, right? Because I want them to come to me for as much as possible, right? Even when they're grown, I want them to be independent, but I want them to still regard, hey, my dad is a wise voice that I need to hear, that I need to have in my ear, right? When I'm 13, when I'm 20, when I'm 50, right? My dad is a wise voice that I need to have in my ear. So I think that y'all just made me think about it. I think that sometimes there are individuals that, because of those relationships, that are really critical. And I'll admit that even with my parents now, and I do give them, I do set boundaries with my parents. Have to, because they'll call me all day. They know they will.
Same.
But I'm gonna tell you, sometimes I could be working on something, and I will intentionally put it to the side because I know that, and it might be for like they might want nothing, but I know that maybe I haven't done as good of a job in the past at giving them that time. Love y'all. At giving them that time, and I just need them to know like how important that they are for that like 5 minutes. And again, that's doing that internal audit though, right? Of okay, I know I would love to give them 30 minutes, but let me try to give them 5 real quick, and be really intentional. Because sometimes what we can do too, y'all, is we can be there but not totally there.
Checked out.
Yeah. And checked out, like doing other stuff. And I really have to, and that's why I mentioned in one episode, like taking notes when my kids were talking, because I can be the victim of I'm listening, but then something come to mind and I'm thinking about it. But when I'm kind of writing down, taking notes on what you're saying, I'm all in it then. You know. So I just wanted to add that point there.
Yeah, Josh. Your comments relating back to the title of this episode 97, Love, Strength, and Burdens in Families. It made me think about two different things. The first is, since we're both in these new chapters of our life of being married individuals.
Yes, ma'am.
I ain't married.
Not yet, at least.
Just throwing it out there.
But since we're in this new chapter, I can speak for myself that now we have to prioritize our partner and our spouse over those other relatives if we want to be very direct. And very direct is that now that we're married, our focus is, my spouse's emotional health and their needs, and it's no longer our parents. And so that transition in itself has been a wake-up call for me, because I am still learning and trying to balance that all. Maybe when I could have answered my mom's phone call at any given moment, but now I might be doing something for my husband. I'm like, okay, Mom, right now, I can't acknowledge your concern. Obviously you give and take if it's not important. And put in my husband as priority over everyone else. And that has been a challenge, because for so long I've been used to just calling my parents for everything. And now it's like, okay, now I have to consult my husband for those concerns. The second thing that it made me realize is one of our segments is titled The Burden of Strength. And it makes me think about a personal story during my childhood. I remember during the recession, my dad, he was working a great 9-to-5 job, and he was making 6 figures. And all of a sudden, he was laid off. And come to find out, he was wrongfully laid off, but that's the story for another day. But he was laid off, and he had to take on a job that made significantly less. And so I just wanted to highlight that sometimes one person's burden can impact other people and can impact the other relatives of the family. And in that situation, my dad's burden of being laid off, it impacted everybody in our family financially, and also sometimes in an emotional aspect too, because we were used to a certain lifestyle and a certain way of living. And I remember my parents sitting my brothers and I down one day at the dinner table, and they just had a very honest conversation with us. And they said, hey, this is the burden we're facing. Dad just got laid off. We're going to have to make some changes around our household. And so just being transparent with us, me and my siblings, we were able to understand that we have to carry this load as a family. And it's not just my mom and my dad carrying this load. We're going to have to carry this as a family. And we got through that difficult difficult time in life.
Communication. That's the important part right there. Communication. Because something that kind of sticks out is if you was to ask why, like growing up, if you ask why, one of the main things they'll say is because I said so. But there's no explanation there. So that leaves room for what? That leaves room for me to make up or try to make sense of the situation myself. So let's just for example, if you notice that you were your lifestyle is different, maybe you weren't going as many places, getting as many gifts or whatever, and there wasn't that sit down. In your mind, you're trying to make sense of why.
What did I do wrong?
Right? But now now that you had a conversation, it's like, ooh, I understand now. Right.
That understanding.
I think communication is important because it helps you not internalize a situation or carry something as a burden, as we were talking about family burdens. One thing that sticks out to me is the saying, like I said in a previous episode, my mom said, "Family's all that we got." Right. So, and she always said that growing up, and I still live by that today. But I have to realize that setting I can live by that quote, right? But I can set boundaries within it too, because I used to be, anytime my family called, I'm there. I would move stuff around just so I can take care of them and make sure that what they asked me to do, I can do it. But then that led to what? Me getting frustrated, stressed out, burnt out, all that stuff. But then when I started setting boundaries, then they started realizing that, oh, he mean business. He's going to help. He loves us. He cares about us. He's going to help us. But when he can do it, when they start realizing that, our relationship got so much closer.
And there are some negative effects of taking on the burdens of your loved ones and your relatives. Some of those clinical effects is more stress. So you're taking on the burdens of others. Now you're experiencing higher levels of stress. That can also lead to emotional suppression. You're suppressing your personal emotions to compensate for those around you. Something else is it can put a strain on your relationship. So had my parents not set us down and said, hey, we're going to have some changes, around this household, it's not going to feel and look too good for, until we get back on our feet. That could have put any emotional strain, on the relationship I had with my parents. Christmas come around and I got one gift instead of 5 gifts. Well, what's going on here? That could have put an emotional strain at an early age on our relationship. But because of that communication and because of that understanding, it didn't happen. Some other effects is anxiety and also burnout. Just being burnt out from that relationship can happen.
So if you're the strong one, as we'll say, in your family, be mindful of all those things, of the way that, carrying those burdens of others, can start to affect you, and just be mindful and intentional about how you take care, I'll say, of those situations, because you still want to have care in those situations, right? You don't want to push people off or anything. I think Hannah and Terrence gave great examples of how we can do this, with care, right? How we can set boundaries with love and with care. It doesn't mean taking your love away. It's mean doing that, I'll say, responsibly, and still thinking about the person on the other side.
I think it's a two-way street. This episode we're focused on if you are that strong friend or if you are that strong relative, but also not dumping your burdens on other people too. It's one thing to be the safe person to that relatives and family and friends want to talk to, but also being that person that is always dumping on people around you. So I think it's a two-way street going on.
Most definitely. Okay. Well, sound good, y'all. I think when I think about good takeaways from this conversation, because I definitely think we've had a great one. Any takeaways or any final thoughts that y'all would offer? I can't get away from kind of what I was saying earlier, doing that internal audit. For me that's a big one. Right? Yeah, self-awareness.
Yep. So being self-aware. Another takeaway that I've learned is to give relationships space. Sometimes I can recognize when my husband's had a long day. Sometimes he just needs space. I give him a quick hug and kiss and let him go ahead about his day. And also recognizing, okay, maybe he had a long day, but maybe he needs, a conversation needs to be had. So just recognizing sometimes when space is needed, that can even go with siblings or your parents. Sometimes space is just needed, and words don't have to be said in that moment.
Yep. And mine would be just communication, right? But of course, communication starts with self-awareness. That way you can communicate what's going on, and because I feel like communication is a lot of what we're missing a lot of times, but communication can help with understanding.
And just frequent check-ins. Check in on yourself. Josh talked some about self-awareness, checking in on yourself, but also checking in on those people around you. If you know that someone is known to be the strong friend or they're known to be the provider of their family, just checking in on them mentally.
Yeah, I had to do a better job of that, like checking on people. I think I've started. I've been doing this for a while, but just calling people. And they expect me to like have something to talk to them about. I'm like, nah, man, I'm just checking on you.
And texting them
and
back,
people,
right?
people really appreciate that. Yeah.
Oh, see,
Well,
I'm glad you brought that up, because in my mind, I was about to add, I was waiting for him to stop, but since you already brought it up, how many unopened text messages you got, John?
I don't know. Okay.
Okay.
Y'all, this is a reoccurring thing from last season.
Okay.
So if you don't know this joke,
Probably
go ahead and look at our
been on me
previous
for a minute.
episodes.
2,000 unopened text messages.
But this is episode 97, Love, Strength, and Burdens in Families. We're just trying to teach practical ways and have honest conversations around uplifting and empowering you to learn how to control the burdens of your families and not take them on personally.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I love that we mentioned earlier was, or it might have been last episode, was just even when we're thinking about internal audits, like those questions, how questions can just open up just different perspectives, right? And open up the just capacity for thought, and questions about why this and why that, and allowing you to reflect on generational patterns, as we talk about so often, right? It didn't necessarily start with you, right? It could have started generations ago. Could have started with our parents, right? So continuing to have dialogue and discussion and those conversations, those meaningful conversations, I'll say, will help us get to the heart of change. Yep. So another great episode. Remember, y'all, being strong doesn't mean being silent, and love doesn't always have to be shown through sacrifice. This has been Chapter 97. For tools, support, or guidance, reach out to Gravity Counseling Group. And for visual storytelling that captures real moments of life, check out Winston J. Stewart.
That's right.
Photography. For photos or videos or even the intro music that you hear that sets the tone for every episode of Speaking with Gravity. So we definitely appreciate Winston for that. We're still on the journey of Season of Purpose, the road to 100. So stay tuned for Chapter 98, I think it is, next time. We're getting closer and closer, y'all.
Yep.
As always, listen and subscribe. Check us out on social media, all platforms at Speaking with Gravity. And if you need support on your healing journey, please reach out to Gravity Counseling Group. Terrence, give me a plug in. What's
my business, Missing Pieces Counseling Services.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Again, y'all, it's been a great one. I'm Joshua.
You all, I'm Hannah.
Terrence.
And we'll see you all soon.
Take care.